Well, welcome everybody to February's Monroe Community Coalition meeting. I'll review our agenda in just a second. We're going to have some latecomers. Pastor Michael Hanford is wrapping up a pastor's meeting, so he'll be coming in about half an hour. We have a number of members who are regularly here who are traveling or who have other appointments, and so we're going to move forward. The agenda is pretty simple today. We're going to keep it light. Oops. So after welcoming introductions, which we'll get started here in just a moment, we'll talk about some brief business updates. Wanted to also provide you some insight onto a few bills that are still moving through the legislature and at the January 31st cutoff. Then we're going to look at some movie trailers to see if any capture your interest in terms of what we should use to start a conversation and introduce community to our existing resources. So last night's movie night couldn't have happened without Kathy. Literally, I was in much different shape in terms of my brain issues. And so this year I want to be way more supportive of you, Kathy. So grateful for you. And then if we have time, I want to show you, we finally got the statewide results of the annual community survey. We reviewed our local results back in December, but there are some interesting differences between what adults in our community told us about youth substance use and what other communities are talking about or prioritizing statewide. So if we get there, we'll take care of that. But if we don't, I'll prepare some nice slides for that next time we're together. So moving into introductions, I'm going to start in the room. Chief, would you introduce yourself?
I'm Jeff Charles, Monroe Police Department.
Kathy.
Kathy Jackson, Monroe School District. I'm a family engagement liaison.
And I'm Joe Nigel, your coalition coordinator and also the director of prevention services for Monroe School District. Brian, I see you. Oh, you're muted.
Yes, I'm Brian Lenderson. I'm a SAP at Monroe Middle Schools.
Perfect. Stephanie Phillips, a longtime friend because she couldn't stay away.
I couldn't. I'm Stephanie Phillips. I'm the student assistance professional at Granite Falls and the prior Monroe High School SAP. So happy to be with some old friends today.
Maddie Louder.
Hi everyone, my name is Maddie Louder. I'm the student assistance professional at Monroe High School.
Welcome, Maddie. And Tammy, nice to see you.
Tammy Amador, counselor at Park Place.
And our friend, Officer Robertson.
There I am. Craig Robertson, the Monroe School Resource Officer.
And Aubrey, so good to see you. I can tell you next month's meeting is going to be all about your request last month.
Oh,
So
sweet.
We're going to have special guests who are going to help us to understand digital literacy, what we're doing here to help kids. And really the big question you asked last month was, how do we help parents walk back pandemic internet use levels? And so that's what next month's going to be about. Thanks to you.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so looking forward to that. I think parents absolutely need resources. I'm Aubrey Rudd and I work with Just Serve. The partners volunteer opportunities with people in the community who are looking to serve in their community. So that's me.
Robin, so nice to have you on the line.
Hi, Robin Cruz, counselor at Monroe High School.
Welcome, welcome. It's been so great having MHS represented consistently. So glad you're here. And Brittany, what brings you to the coalition today?
Hi. It's here to listen and learn from everybody. I'm Brittany. I work at the Snohomish County Health Department as a healthy community specialist on the substance use prevention team.
Hey, Brittany, what are you working on right now? What's taking up your time?
Yeah, a lot of different things. We're doing some student-facing vaping education, mostly in middle schools. I'm also distributing youth focused vaping quit kits and pocket resources. And we're also doing a series of youth listening sessions across the county with different advisory boards and youth councils and youth coalitions. So I actually worked with Katie a couple weeks ago to do one with the Sky Valley Youth Coalition, and we've been in Stanwood and Everett as well. So working on that, and that's been really fun and exciting. So
Yeah, you're everywhere. Katie, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm just eating. That's why my camera was off. I'm Katie O'Hara, the Assault and Prevention Coalition Coordinator. Joe and I work a lot together, and yeah, good to be here.
And our friend Dennis Smith. How are you, Dennis?
I'm great, Joe. How are things going with you?
It's going. I can't believe it's February.
I can't either. We had a wonderful You're Not Alone thing last weekend, last Saturday, and
Yes.
very successful. And Granite Falls, we're having our Empty Bowls of Soup fundraiser this next Saturday. So I'm just happy to be here and hear what you guys are doing. I'm a retired school psychologist from Granite Falls School District.
We're glad you're here, Dennis. A few brief business updates. Wanted to let you know, or if you've seen the newsletter, coalition programs are being implemented K through 12 right now. We're just wrapping up second semester Sides of Suicide at Park Place Middle School, right? Is it at Park Place, Tammy? That we're doing, yeah. So wrapping it up at Park Place. PACT Good Behavior Game, Second Step, Botman's Life Skills Training Program, Sources of Strength. A lot is happening with the coalition. This month, we received about $600,000 in grants from county to continue the student support advocate and co-occurring disorders treatment program. So right now, from all fund sources, we're leveraging about $1 million a year for behavioral health. That doesn't mean we're leveraging cash. It means we're leveraging Maddie and Brian and receiving funding for the student support advocates and the co-occurring disorders treatment specialist and for part of my salary. And so considering that we started at zero, we're doing great 10 years in. I'm just every day I'm grateful that I get to help serve kids this way. And none of this would have been possible without you. So I'm probably going to remind you about that every month. I mean, it's true gratitude. So thank you for being here and making things better. The other kind of small pieces of business right now, the Student Services Secretary, Camille House, is in an all-day healthcare authority training so that she can help me start entering data. So I won't be the highest paid data entry clerk in Monroe after too long. That'll just still be Sharon and Tammy. Sorry. And so that's really good news to have help on the way, literally happening today. And then there was one more piece. Oh, March 13th is the day the state will release its healthy use survey data press release. And so right now I'm working with Healthcare Authority and Looking Glass Analytics to make sure that we can launch a companion press release either in the afternoon of the 13th or on the 14th. So our coalition meeting will be on the 14th. Any data that you hear before then, or if you're looking for data, it's all embargoed until after the press release, so nobody can get their hands on it. Nobody. And we'll be ready to go by the 14th. So it'll be great this year. I've been kind of working behind the scenes to say like, hey, peak interest is right after the press release is released. News stories, community members, partners, I mean, everybody wants to know after that press release, and typically we don't get our data until about June or August. And so this year we'll be ahead of the curve. So can't share more, but I'm very happy that we're going to be able to be responsive when interest is high this year. All right, I want to share my screen with you really quick. Actually, before I do that, since we have so much expertise on the call, and again, it became a little late, I might cut off the last agenda item so we can spend the right amount of time together and looking at more pressing issues. But we have Chief Jolly and Student Resource Officer Robertson on the call with us. I'm wondering if you guys can give us a law enforcement update in terms of what you're seeing in the community in terms of substance abuse or property crimes that may be driven by substance use, or what you're seeing at the school. Craig, I just want to give you to the floor for a moment. You're our superstars.
Go right ahead, Craig.
Thanks, Chief. I can't really speak for the community and what's out there, but as far as the schools go, I have seen quite a bit of an uptick of vaping, THC vaping going on in the schools. I like what you just talked about, Joe, about the funding and the money provided to keep the positions like Maddie and Brian's position. They are worth their weight in gold in these schools, and I appreciate them. They are who make it so that these kids have that outlet once they are caught with these vape pens or whatever they have, the dabs, whatever type of drug that they have. The courts, as I push through an MIP or being caught with this, the courts will decline the criminal charge, put it through to diversion, which is exactly that, Maddie and Brian, so that they can do what they're best at. And so the state has this in place, a great program that, yes, I'm putting forth a case to go to the prosecutors, the juvenile prosecutors for review, but the state has it in place where there's going to be a couple times where they're going to get that chance to actually go through some sort of drug treatment program or counseling so that they don't have to have a drug offense on their record. So they're doing great. But yes, I have seen an uptick in the vaping, and like I was telling you, Joe, before everybody jumped on here, I haven't really seen, and maybe somebody else can speak to this, but I haven't really seen the vapes that used to just be the cherry flavored or you know the not so harsh ones. Now it just seems to be that because they're so out there and it's so many parents are doing it that the kids are just getting them. They're accessible. They're getting them through the mail. They're easy to order online, but it's almost always THC vapes. So.
Chief, anything to add?
You know, I think we continue to see an uptick in a lot of crimes as a result of the legislation over the previous 3 years that's been passed. That's put some artificial obstacles in front of our way and taken away some of the tools for law enforcement. And we're seeing corresponding escalation in crime statistics and numbers and victimization. And victims seems to be kind of what's lacking in the conversation. There's not a lot of talk or legislation or concern about the increased victimization that we're seeing throughout the state of Washington. The legislative session, this particular session, does not seem hopeful as to resolving some of these issues. We won't have some of the tools. Drugs will stay pervasive in our society. Auto thefts will continue to escalate at a crazy rate, and we are still going to be lacking some of the tools to hold people accountable. You know, one of the things, how it affects our area, Como just recently did a story that indicated in January of this year, there were an average of 81 vehicle thefts in Pearson, King County. 81 per day.
Wow.
What was it? It was 81 to Pearson King.
So what we saw last year, 2023 for Monroe, minus December, we had 61 total So a little more than that, we'll have those final numbers pretty quick. Certainly, it's not nearly as overwhelming as it is to our sister counties to the south. And we're fortunate because we are off that I-5 corridor.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make us immune, and we still see crime of all sorts across the board, just not the numbers. But we're continually hoping for and advocating for more systems of accountability back into. One thing that we're lacking is our ability to talk or interact with juveniles if they're related to a crime. They still have the protections of having an attorney, and we cannot speak to them. Even if they're involved on the outer edges of a thing, we cannot exclude them. And it's problematic, and Craig has had to deal with several of those issues, and it's doing nothing to help our school partners in that regard either. So we remain hopeful, but we continue to do some great things. We're just not police. We're out in the community partnering with the schools, the nonprofits, faith-based organizations. We have a chaplain program that ministers to people that are in need or crisis with our officers, and a embedded social worker program that's on its 6th year, in which a social worker partners with a police officer and goes out and tries to provide services to people in need, suffering from mental health crisis or lack of housing or drug issues. That's been a very successful program that has a diversion component. We have a new program through VOA in which we have a crisis response person that's dispatched over to police radio. She's able to come out and help us de-escalate different things in the community. Someone who's engaged in having a mental health crisis right at that particular moment and mediate that. Having a second person in that program. And we've just now partnered, the city has, with a homeless rapid responder program. That is a grant that was given to some nonprofits here in the area that will go out and regularly and routinely find and seek out those populations that do need help, mental health services and drug rehab services, and try to find a pathway to housing. So, and we've got some other things in the hopper that we're also doing. The city's been very aggressively seeking out grants to do some things to bring resources to the community. So that's what we're doing, and we're in the police business, but we're also in the compassion business and the people business. And so if we can find alternatives to incarcerating people for various afflictions, we're all in. We're all in. But we also are lacking some tools to even build that police component. So that's what's going on with us.
Any questions for Chief? Or I see a Stephanie.
Thank you. Officer Robinson, I haven't been in Monroe for a couple of years. I'm just curious, did you say you were ticketing MIPs at high school?
So if it, yeah, good question. If it comes across my desk, so I generally, probably 99% of the time, I'm not the first contact that student will have with accountability. So if it's the security officer, or if it's admin that comes across it, or a teacher that comes across a student doing that, they're going to go through their process of searching the backpack, or getting the student to talk about it or confess to it, having that. And then at that point, if it comes to me, if admin decides that they are going to walk in the information, then at that point, once I have it, then yes, I do. And the great thing about it, so I know that let me continue on with that just a little bit, Stephanie. The state has something in place that really works for the kids. So if we keep it from pushing it forward to the juvenile prosecutors, then the plan that the state put in place can't really work for them. So it would be more of an in-house. So if let's just say a scenario is they get caught with a vape, it has THC, so it's a drug illegal for them to have. Yes, that would be an MIP. But if we do it in-house, there's no accountability making them or forcing them to actually go to, let's just say, Maddie and meet with her. They can say, and they can suggest it and hope that they do, but there's no actual follow-up with it. When it actually goes to a court, the prosecutors now have kind of the power to go, we're holding this charge, but we're not going to do this charge if you actually go in there and get counseling, drug counseling that you obviously need if you're vaping at such a young age. And so the state put that process in place. They have two. They can get up to two of those. The third one is going to account to an actual charge. So with that, trusting that the state did the right thing, with not just going after kids and trying to put charges on them. I totally agree with that. I think that this is the process that should be, and admin here at the Monroe High School is on board with that. So when I say there's been an uptick of those that have landed on my desk saying this kid was caught with this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian had a question
Oh, Brian.
about how to dispose of vapes. Want to go in the chat?
Yeah, and I put it in the chat. Yeah, it's just something I know we talked about at the meeting the other day. So I was just seeing if there was any more knowledge on that.
How to dispose of vapes if they're confiscated?
Yes.
So any vape that I come, if that question's for me, any vape that I come across and it's attached to an actual report that I have to do, it goes to the police department evidence bay. So that what they do, I'd have to talk to the evidence tech there once they dispose of them. I would imagine unless it actually goes to a criminal case, it's going to be disposed of at some point once it runs its course. But as far as me getting rid, I don't just throw it away. That, like, if it's on my desk, it's going into evidence.
No, you know, Greg, I realize this is a sensitive issue anymore, this accountability piece, and definitely understand concerns about driving up the school to prison pipeline. But there's really clear prevention science. An agency called the Pacific Institute for Research and Evaluation actually published on this, but the threat of enforcement is a deterrent for use. And so we had a partnership between MPD and the school board back in 2014 when the coalition was still young, because healthy use survey data showed that youth just didn't believe law enforcement or adults in the community would hold them accountable for using substances. And that was about the time coalition came into existence. So we came into existence because of those high rates. And so we put basically a gateway program in place where drug sniffing dogs came to the school. They searched the parking lot. They didn't go in. It was even announced when the dogs were coming. But the whole point of that wasn't to catch people. If we did catch students, then they were referred to our SAP for assistance. There weren't charges brought. But it actually significantly changed the data by 2 years later, where youth reported back in line with the state that they'd be held accountable. Our substance use rates, that's when our substance use rates really started to drop because there were accountability measures in place. So I just want you to know that the prevention research is really supportive accountability measures. And I'm definitely an ally if you need anything or if you're pursuing any resources. Just wanted to put that out there.
That's great to hear. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, so but it was.
And I'll just say, Joe, you know, Craig was addressing mostly youth-related things as they are for the schools. I was talking mostly in terms of the general population.
Yes.
And adults.
Yes.
I don't think it's our youth that necessarily that are engaged in going to school every day.
Sure.
That are causing some of the chaos that's going on in our community. So
good point. Good point. I'm wondering if our SAPs want to share what they've been up to and what you're seeing. And then I'll ask the counselors to share.
From my perspective at the high school, I have noticed a decrease in students getting caught in bathrooms since winter break pretty much. I was talking to some of our behavioral health team yesterday about how there's a little bit of a lull in my caseload numbers, but we have seen an uptake in some HIB, bullying, harassment, fighting at the school since winter break, and it could have added with the stress of the semester ending and things of that sort. But that's kind of what the main focus is of our administrators when they're tackling things in the hallways right now. So my caseload numbers are low, but I will start my second semester presentations for Project Success in March. So in about a month from now, I'll be getting on the ball with that.
And Brian, are you hitting the ground running at the middle schools?
Yes, we've noticed, not really an uptick in use necessarily at, things are pretty steady. There has been some of the HIB as well. And then we had an incident yesterday at Hidden River, which I can talk to you about later, that was kind of concerning. That there was a risk of a student running out onto 522. So we intervened, and we had help from the sheriff's department, and we were able to get the student safely to her family. So that went well, all things considered. But I think we're making progress, and word is getting out that I'm not a monster, and so that's a good thing. And we're just going to keep working at it. I'm about to start doing the education piece to 7th graders, so I can get that all accomplished. Since I came on in January, I'm going to try to get that accomplished before spring break.
Excellent, thank you. School counselors, what are you seeing? What's the state of our kids?
Sharon, I'll let you talk this time because I always talk.
I gotta learn to say that before she does. Let's see. End of semester is hard. We're seeing definitely, I love how you guys keep using the word uptick, so I'll use that. An uptick in mental health reports as far as suicidal ideation, anxiety, depression. We're seeing that definitely. It's been rough since break. And the other thing that we're seeing is, I don't know, I don't want to say as a result of that, but it seems to be there's a correlation, even if there's not a causation. Our HIB numbers are going up as well. We see right now the majority of our HIB complaints, at least that I'm receiving, I don't want to speak for Tammy, are centered around either gender identity or race. And gender identity seems to be the big area of target right now. That's making more of our students feel very unsafe and unsure how to navigate it. We have something going on at our school, which Joe, I'd love to talk to you about another time, that is really driving a lot of that, I think. And honestly, I'm not sure how to navigate it.
Yeah.
It's been a rough month. February will be much better.
Well, both of you, Sharon and Tammy, you've been on my heart, and been meaning to circle back with you on some advocacy I'm doing just for everybody to come more fully into their school counselor role. But been too busy to reach out. So I'll definitely reach out tomorrow and see if we can connect. Otherwise, Tammy, anything to add? Or Robin, what are you seeing?
No, I echo everything that Sharon said. The HIB and the racism is common, unfortunately.
Okay.
The use of the N-word is a popular thing right now.
Okay, so you guys can't cut out early, because when we look at a few of these trailers that could be potential films that we show, they're going to touch on both issues. So you guys can advocate. I see you, Robin, sorry.
It's okay. I would agree with the two ladies. So we've also had few incidences with racism. Started with students playing a game where you draw pictures and you guess.
Yes.
And yeah, so that was a big thing. Also, same thing, you know, was the end of the semester. So a lot of students panicking, wanting to do whatever they can, you know, to get the grades up and pass their class. So of course, you know, you have students with high anxiety, presentations to do. It's just, yes, a very stressful time for teachers, counselors, students, and, you know, and even parents, you know, trying to do what they can at this point. So I agree. I hope the remainder of February is a lot better of a month.
Any questions for counselors, SAPs, or anything you want to share? I see you turn your screen on, Aubrey.
I was just going to say, this is off topic of what you guys are going to talk about, but just for Tammy and Sharon, we were just looking at doing a service project at Park Place during lunchtime. We reached out to take the next step, and just putting together snack bags for their after school program was just something that was pretty successful for a group of youth. You know, we're just trying to find those ways for youth to feel more connected to their community, because we know it kind of is an ameliorating factor. So I don't know, how do you guys feel about that idea? Kara said she sounded like it was a great idea and she was going to talk to Sarah. So how do you guys feel? Like, how do you feel about that? Just like, because I think at Park Place, I'm working for MHS for it to be more involved, but like for Park Place, just a quick lunch, because you guys lunchtime is what, 20 minutes? I can't even remember, something like that, 20 minutes, really fast. But this kind of goes fast, but it's for kids in their community. They can feel involved. If, you know, we just come in there, we've got the supplies, they just put them in bags. How do you guys feel about that?
All for it.
Me too. I love it. And honestly, I think anytime we can get the community into our school, it's great for our kids, because our kids are very well aware of the perception that's in the community about our school. And a lot of it is not accurate for what's really happening in our schools. And so there's a perception of what difference does it make? They've already decided that we're hooligans, you know? So it's like, I think anytime the community can come in and engage with our kids and see that they are good kids and they're just doing the best they can, I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
And
awesome.
Aubrey, tomorrow, if you're really wanting to dive into this, where our web leaders are giving hot chocolate to their 6th grade students all day tomorrow. So if you want to come and say hi, you are more than welcome. Any of you.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, Aubrey, let me know if you need any help at Park Place or Hidden River. He's muted. You're muted.
What administrator do you guys think I need to talk to kind of just make sure this is all according to above board and according to Park Place kind of
Probably
regulation?
Christy.
I would start with Christy. Yeah.
Yeah, for
All right,
sure.
I'll reach out to her.
He runs a tight ship
Sweet.
in a good way. No.
Awesome. Yep, sounds great. And we're working at something with trying to partner with the Key Club for Monroe High School around Global Youth Service Day, which will be in April. And again, trying to look into, I just want to get to that human service provider meeting. I just haven't been able to, but trying to find something actually in the our community, a project that makes sense, that they can feel like, oh, this is actually benefiting people and hopefully maybe even youth in our community. So if you guys have any cool ideas, let me know.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to briefly share just some legislative items. We don't need to take any action, but if you're interested in taking action, you can reach out to me and ask how can we do this? So let me just go over these. It'll only take a minute. It's been an interesting session all the way around. What I'm going to show you are some items that most impact prevention, so the mission of the coalition. And so most of the bills impacting prevention are dead. They never made it out of committee in January. And so some of those may go away forever. Some are destined to come back, both positive and negative. The bills that are still alive that might interest us and our partners, the state is considering lowering the legal limit for DUI from 0.08 to 0.05. My understanding is that a lot of European countries have already adopted this standard. In the United States, Utah was the first to adopt the standard a couple of years ago, and they saw a 20% reduction in DUI. So this is coming. If you know more than that, please speak up. If you know less and want to know more, just let me know. Whatever you need. You can find all of these bills on leg.wa.gov, so the legislature's website, and you can see everything that's been happening, how these bills might impact the budget, how much support they've garnered. But so for me personally, I think lowering DUI concentration to 0.05 could be a game changer for a lot of communities. There are a couple of bills that proposed fentanyl and methamphetamine prevention and awareness. Several have died, and the ones that are living are kind of merged. But in a nutshell, HB 1956, Senate Bill 5906 would direct Department of Health to develop and implement statewide drug overdose prevention and awareness campaign. So we have Brittany on with us, and this is what Brittany is already doing. It looks like this would just mandate it statewide. Those awareness campaigns are supposed to focus on the Good Samaritan law and addiction resources. And at the same time, the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction is being, if this bill passes, will be directed to develop substance use prevention and awareness materials for school and classroom use. And I actually had some behind the scenes influence on some priorities in 1956. And so there's a lot of strong language in there encouraging the use or creation of evidence-based materials. And so that's significant, to move from what we think works best to what we know works best is going to protect a lot of kids from unintentional harm. There's a cannabis retailer advertising bill. The cannabis lobby has been very strongly felt in Olympia, according to some of my colleagues. And this one that's still alive is Senate Bill 5363. This will double the number of allowed marijuana billboards that are allowed to be up, and it will allow for unlimited posters and trade signs, and would switch enforcement from the Liquor and Cannabis Board to local cities and counties. And so we know that advertising impacts youth choices. This is definitely, if it passes, a significant blow to prevention, as it will increase the norm that everybody uses, and it's out there. And so the cannabis lobby in general this year has really tried to upend and cut out the Liquor and Cannabis Control Board's role in marijuana. So this is the only one that's really still alive. But again, it's going to significantly increase marijuana advertising if passed. And then one to keep an eye on here too, Senate Bill 6201. There's also a companion House Bill 2260. This would allow the Liquor and Cannabis Board to impose civil penalties. So right now it's a crime to provide alcohol to minors. But as you heard from Student Resource Officer Robertson, what a county or a municipality will take up in terms of prosecution is very limited. And so often the biggest threat to retail liquor licensed stores and restaurants is the threat of penalties being imposed against their license. But if 6201 passes, how long was I disconnected for?
Only about 5 seconds.
Oh, okay. Good. I'm gonna share my screen again, and it looks like we're still recording, so that's weird. You guys, in that 5 seconds, you missed like the Magna Carta of
Joe, so the one of the cannabis the first one.
Yes.
Is it, so it's still on the floor, it hasn't gone, will go to a vote then?
Yeah, cannabis retailer advertising
Yeah.
is likely to have a vote. And so it's a very strong lobby. So just something to be
People will have
aware
a
of.
say then, right?
What's that?
People have a say.
The legislators will have a say.
But it won't go to a vote.
It won't go to a vote of the people.
You're kidding.
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, so on this last one, civil penalties for sale or supply, like you heard from Officer Robinson, criminal penalties are really hard to secure. Civil penalties are much easier to leverage. And so there can be civil penalties and fines for businesses or now even employees who are selling or gifting or otherwise supplying alcohol to people under 21. So that's good. I want to show you this too. So I want to show you a couple of bills that are dead. They didn't make it out, but to show you what's going on. So in terms of the assault that the cannabis industry is waging in Washington. So they got legislative sponsors to require voter approval for cannabis prohibition. So Coalition was a key partner with the city council and department way back in 2011 and 12 in terms of prohibiting or creating that original moratorium against retail production, processing, and sales of marijuana in our community. And it ultimately led to a ban after the moratorium was lifted. The state was considering legislation that would have completely taken away local control. That if any city wanted to ban cannabis establishments, it could only do so if the people voted for it during a general election. So that's a really big deal. Another big deal that didn't make it this year, but I guarantee you will be coming back, is House Bill 2334. This would have made the Department of Agriculture responsible for basically all things cannabis, rather than the Liquor and Cannabis Board. What that meant was, in Washington State, cannabis would have been treated not like a psychoactive substance and regulated like one. It would be treated as a commodity like corn or wheat or milk. So 2 huge blows that we fended off this year. One thing that would have been nice, and this came out of another work group I'm a part of, the state's suicide prevention and behavioral health work group. This is our #1 recommendation, that OSPI begin to support schools to better identify and connect students to behavioral health support. That didn't pass, but it won't be dropped. And so I'm hopeful that since school is the hub for most families, and especially vulnerable families, that the state will expand support for what we're trying to do here, what we are doing in Monroe. And then the last one is just kind of an interesting item. House Bill 1922 would have established a grant program for schools to purchase and install vape detectors. Vape detectors have had kind of limited success statewide. One of the things that vape detectors measure is increases in methane. And we produce methane when we use the restroom. And so statewide, the schools that have them have had a number of false positives, just catching kids using the toilet. So it's a well-intended one. The reason why I'm sharing it with you is because this is sure to come up as we start working more on vape. The data that we'll have access to, I think, will definitely show what Maddie and Brian and Officer Robertson are observing, the increase in vape use. And so I had investigated these last year, but just it didn't really make sense for what we wanted to do. So that's kind of the 4 that would have really impacted us in Monroe one way or another. And so I don't know if there was a bill that would have dedicated the state's entire proportion of, or 50% of the state's proportion of the dedicated cannabis fund to going to help law enforcement agencies fund recruitment and bring in new officers. That also died in committee. And so there are a number of ones out there, but if you have an opinion about alcohol concentration, about fentanyl awareness and education, retail cannabis advertising, or civil penalties for sale or supply of alcohol to minors, let me know and I'll get you connected to the information you need. Anybody have anything they feel like they want to share or ask?
I'll, if I may, Granite Falls Middle School and High School have installed vape detectors, and it has been a huge, yeah, it has been a huge asset and tool for my position as the SAP here. It will go off for things like aerosols as well. So dry shampoo, perfume, Axe body spray, loud noises, like I don't know what constitute a loud noise, but it will go off for that. And it constitutes a search for those students who were in the bathroom during that notification that they went off. And it's helped, I guess, deter the students that thought they were being sneaky by just bringing it to school but not using them. It's been a huge deterrent for those students who had poor impulse control to want to vape in between classes. For those students I work with that are working on cutting back or quitting vaping, it's been hugely beneficial to them because there's not other students vaping in the bathroom when those students go to use it. So for my few months in the school district, it's been a huge tool, and kids know it. Kids know that if it goes off, what they say randomly, but it's not always like super randomly. It usually has some like, oh, somebody sprayed a perfume bottle. It's deterred a lot of devices being brought to school. So it's benefited the Granite Falls community a lot.
Yeah, to add to that, I was going to mention that I've heard whisperings from other SAPs in the ESD as well. It's really just a deterrent, even if it does give off false positives. And from what I'm hearing from students, Joe, I would love to revisit that conversation and potentially getting them installed in the middle and high schools because of the deterring factor of it. And students just want a bathroom where they don't have to go to 5 different other bathrooms in the school just to use the bathroom. So if we can decrease the amount of students that are just hanging out in the bathroom with or without vape pens, then I think that a lot of our students would be much happier. And also, if we can just decrease the number of students hanging out in the bathrooms, we're also going to decrease the amount of bullying and fights that happen in the bathrooms.
Yeah, you know, Maddie, let's connect about that because I actually found some funding that could have supported installation, but it was decided that wouldn't be in the school's best interest. So I'd like to give you some background on that and equip you to start working. You're way more popular than me.
I'm just convincing.
Yeah,
I lock people in offices and convince them.
That's your superpower. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. This is where we're going to move into, this will probably be the last real agenda item, but I want to move into movie night. So we're getting there again. April traditionally is the month that we show our movie night, sometime typically after spring break, since a lot of people are traveling or away. Since 2015, we've shown at least 6 films at the Galaxy Theater: Paper Tigers, Angst, Resilience, Screenagers, all 3 Screenagers. When I was looking at our registration list, this little number 1.8 thousand, or yeah, 1.8 thousand. So we've served almost 2,000 people. Almost 2,000 people have attended our movies over the last number of years. And so last year was the first time we were in the theater since 2019. We're actually scheduled to show Screenagers: The Next Chapter in the theater in March 2020. And of course, the middle of March 2020 is when we went into lockdown. So for Screenagers, we and I think Resilience, we showed those films by licensing the streaming rights, and we allowed families to register to view the film in their living rooms. What was missing during those streaming years was typically we show the film both to start a conversation and to introduce families to resources. And so it's definitely time to reintroduce families to our local resources between what Monroe Police Department is doing, the city of Monroe, the school district, take the next step. We have a pretty impressive, comprehensive whole to start sharing with the community.
With resource tables in the foyer.
Yep, and then we always have resource tables in the foyer. So you know, at our peak, right before the pandemic, we had 600 people attend one year. We had to have an extra theater open in order to do that. I'd love to get back there. I don't know if we will, but it's one of my favorite things that we do. I mean, to me, there's still something special about a night at the movies. And then what I'd like to do is, if you guys could turn up your volume and watch some of these trailers with me, I'd like to get your reaction. So we're gonna spend about 10 minutes looking at trailers, but I'm gonna pause between every trailer just to get your take. Does it fit with what we're doing as a coalition? Does it fit with the issues that are emerging in the community? The one thing that ties all these trailers together is they have themes of mental health and suicide prevention, because that's what the grant fund source is. So I have to tie everything back to how showing this may help to reduce suicide or improve access to mental health services. So I'm gonna get started. The first film is called Like, and definitely open to any others you wanna send my way. These are just the ones that came up on my attention now. So here's Like.
More than 2 billion people have smartphones today, and we're checking them about on average 150 times every day. What does the world look like where 2 billion people are checking our devices 150 times a day?
I was 9 when I first got my phone. And I can remember being on a school trip and one of my friends scrolling through Instagram, like, what is that? And she was like, it's Instagram, you know, I'll help you make one. I was like, sick.
When I got my first phone, it was almost instant. The first thing I got was Facebook because everyone was on Facebook and I just really wanted to fit in.
I take my phone with me to the bathroom and I connect my phone to my speaker, which I play music on.
Go to school, the whole car ride, I'm on my phone. So when I'm on it late at night, I sometimes fall asleep on it and then they have to turn off all the lights and take it from me.
In social media, you need to have some thick skin.
I think I have an unhealthy relationship with my phone and social media. My parents say I'm a bit addicted to it. I use my phone too much. It's become a habit or like muscle memory.
We want to have that recognition of people seeing like everything we're doing, and we want to have those comments and the likes to like reassure yourself that what you're doing is good.
There's a lot of data that show that people get addicted to their phones because the same addiction centers light up as they would if you were using heroin. And also, if you're in love with someone, there's another part of your brain that lights up on an MRI. And people have that same part of their brain light up about their phone. What? I love my phone. They do, if you look at the brain.
Social media is never the thing that's evil. You create a caring community, then, well, you know, social media will be caring as well.
The things I think is most important for teenagers and young people to understand is these devices are not designed for you in many ways. That you are not the customer, you are the product being sold here. And are you really using technology, or is technology using you?
So I'm wondering if we have any initial thoughts on this before we look at the next trailer.
Very relevant.
Very relevant. Any other thoughts? Aubrey, I see you're unmuted.
Yeah, I was just looking at a post by Julia Roberts that she had, I think it was yesterday or a couple of days ago, where she was just over the weekend unmakeuped and posted it. Was her and her niece, and she was like, this was just like such a joyful moment. And there was just like in the comments so many mean things, and she's like, you know, I'm a famous person, I try to develop a thick skin, and she's like, I cannot imagine the kind of world these kids are living in, having to develop a thick skin, or, you know, I'm kind of all for anything surrounding a social media or kind of addictive phone usage. component. I just think it's a huge issue and a huge thing that we need to talk about and equip people with. So the social dilemma is also an awesome one to watch on Netflix, as far as just like understanding of, there is an algorithm created by genius people that is working on all of us to keep watching. They are manipulating our dopamine response to continue to keep going. And what kid whose frontal lobe isn't, I mean, I have a problem as an adult. What kid with their frontal lobe not fully formed can have kind of the resources to understand what's happening and how they can be equipped to have a healthy relationship with their phone? Because eventually they're going to have a phone. So there needs to be some tools. So I'm all about kind of something like this that can open this big conversation.
I see Maddie has seconded the social dilemma. So what I'll do is maybe at the end of these trailers, we'll play that one. We'll just look it up really quick. And then we will I'll also look into how we can potentially license that for display at the theater. So there are a lot of good movies out there that I found, but there's just no way to license them. They're like old school DVDs. And so just keep that in the back of your mind, but we'll come back to social dilemma.
How long is the like?
All of these documentaries are about an hour long. So it's just long enough to really inform, not long enough to really bore. So, and then if we have one that we're really interested in, what I'll do is see if we can get a preview copy, and then have a few folks from the coalition watch the entire thing. Sorry, I want to share my screen again for this next trailer. Oops. Share sound. Okay. And then, yeah. So this is called the Upstanders.
It started through an Instagram hate account. Why does your hair look like that? Why do you have buck teeth?
Calling him an ape. They were saying, let's put him 6 feet under.
She's ugly, she's mean, she has no soul. She shouldn't be here, she has no role. They were like chanting on her to punch me in the face. It was really hurtful. It made me feel bad about myself, like if I was doing something wrong.
The definition of bullying typically takes on 3 different criteria. One is a power differential, one is repeated negative acts, and the third is an intent to harm.
And it didn't matter that I talked the same way they did, I took the same classes, I grew up in the same place, I wore the same brand clothes. I mean, I was the same as it could possibly be. I looked different, I fundamentally was different, and the fact that I was made it really easy.
Within the past couple years, it was the group of seniors, the older individuals, were consistently reported to be the loneliest cohort of people. It's shifted for the first time ever. The loneliest cohort of people are now 25 and under.
I first learned about the cyberbullying one night where there was an Instagram post, and David came running down into our bedroom crying and screaming that, you know, his life was over and he was never going to be able to go back to school. And I got out of bed and I sat on the floor with him to try to understand what was going on, and that's when he showed me his phone.
When you are anonymous in an online context, who you are online is not necessarily connected to who you are offline.
We're giving a lot of power and opportunity in these devices, more power in these cell phones than it took to land on the moon. How are we getting them to think about the long-term ethical consequences of the quick decisions that they're making on devices that were made for quick decisions? How do we get them to stop, think critically?
We need to teach everyone to find their voice and to feel comfortable using their voice. That's power. You can change somebody's whole world.
The world that we live in today makes us think that most people have it all figured out, that most people are doing nothing but thriving. What I've seen through working with thousands of people is that it doesn't really matter who we are or what our life looks like. We are all going through stuff, and most of us are going through the same things.
If you walk through the world thinking, oh, nobody cares about me, why should I care about anyone else? That's just a sign of disconnection, and that isn't how humans are built. Like, they are built to connect. They are built to live in community. So what is it that is disrupting connection? I don't know the answer to that, but I do see that disconnection is fundamentally the problem.
The internet came to us in 1995. Guess what? Since 1995, isolation, depression, anxiety, anger, all of this stuff has gone up as well.
We need to instill that true sense of belonging, that I am who I am because of who we all are. We're all interconnected into our young people, and we know through research that that's what enhances meaning and purpose.
Not only our audience of parents, they need to hear that message so they can really relate to their children, but also that needs to go to our schools so kids get a voice.
Yeah, so I really like what you're saying. Was everybody able to hear Kathy? Not really. Would you say it one more time?
Oh, I really like that one because not only are we showing them the movie, probably our biggest audience is parents and community members, but showing them what it looks like to be a youth in this culture, and then also that would be something to bring to the school so that the students hear that they have a voice and they can speak up for themselves.
Sharon?
I also feel like with, at least at the school district level, with our focus on sense of belonging and community, that ties in really well with our district goals.
Yeah. Yeah, so in that case, then, you know, the partners that we could show after the film might include the superintendent if he was available to talk about his belonging initiative, in addition to like behavioral health team and school counselors and all the work that we're doing to make students feel connected. The other thing is this movie and then one other preview, we could purchase as part of a package that comes with classroom lessons as well as that. So a lot of opportunity to focus on connection. Oh, Sharon's in the dark. But to focus on connection, there's again that direct overlap with what we're seeing in terms of increased bullying and racism. So I see a lot of overlap points here. Any other thoughts before I show you the next?
And I think it also overlaps bringing in the social media component too, which is, so I think, you know, it looks like from my perspective, even like, or this one, or Social Dilemma, they all, there's so many facets, and I like that this focuses on and overlaps because it can bring in the social media component, right? But kind of focusing on the belonging and the bullying, which is so I'm happy. So far I'm happy with any of these choices. So, but I like that that overlap is there.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw this, definitely Sharon, that's what I was going to bring up was the overlap with, this is our whole year now. This is our focus. And then, oh darn, I was going to say one other thing that was so awesome, but now you'll never know. I forgot. No, I just don't remember.
I have a question
Yes.
for you, Joe and Maddie, maybe, and Sharon as well. What percentage of the kids are struggling with the cyberbullying aspect, and then what percentage of the kids are struggling with the first trailer like?
So I can share the data piece. Okay. So when we reviewed the results of the annual community survey, we saw that cyberbullying were adults, one of the adults' number one concerns for youth. It went, actually, let me just share this really quick here. I'm going to share my screen. And even though we don't have time to get into it, I just want to look up the numbers so you can see for sure. Okay. A second. Let's see here. Yeah, so vaping, depression, bullying, and bullying on social media. So bullying and bullying on social media were parents' number 2 concern, tied behind depression. and then followed by vaping and suicidality. So the adults of our community are definitely observing that this is a worry they have for kids. In our data, traditionally, about 30% of kids report being cyberbullied, about 27%, so pretty close to the same, report being standard bullied, if that's a phrase. So I'd say it's happening. And then in general with the social media, this will be the second time, once the survey results are released, that we have social media or internet data. So it's limited to 3 questions, but it's like, how does your internet use contribute to your feelings of anxiety? How does your internet use impact your motivation to do schoolwork and things like that? So for both, we'll have data. For bullying, which we've shown before in our work, is really linked to depression and anxiety. And on Community Truancy Board, we're seeing that plays a big role too, just not being liked or recognized appropriately plays a role. So this would fit across all domains. I'm going to show you
the
oh,
first
go ahead.
would be like, I would say everyone struggles with addiction to their phone right now. So 100% on that one.
Yeah.
But that's just my own data collection.
No, but to your point, Maddie, what I kind of felt looking at this and at like is there's universal messages there, not age group messages. You know, the youth are being focused on to tell the story, but yeah, we all have a relationship with our phone. So, okay, ready for the next trailer? Let me share my screen again. Okay, that was the upstanders. This is, oops, I'm sorry, of 2 minds.
Well, you know, I've read some interesting things the other night because I was looking for information on how best to kill myself with pills.
I love living on the Razor's Edge. You know, full throttle. I was walking down the street late at night with an ice pick looking for death.
In this folder are several suicide letters from 1996 to the present. Dear Mom and Dad, I know how irksome it is when suicides don't leave that telltale note, and so I gladly oblige. And it's on the back of my resume. Extracurricular activities.
Bipolar disorder affects everything. There's no, oh, I'm gonna calm down. You can't. It's your brain.
Everything's amazing, phenomenal.
It's great. It's the roller coaster ride of your life. And then it dies.
It is horrible. Nobody wants to feel like I feel right now.
I lost my closest sister. How do you explain to someone the reason for that?
The thing is I'm afraid of surviving.
Go, so I've never been normal. And then I go, quit saying normal. What is normal?
There's just living with this stuff and then the effort of hiding it all the time. I feel like I play sane every day.
This is our mood swing donut, formerly known as the bipolar donut.
If I could take it away, I wouldn't, because I've seen things that no one else has seen.
Now that was manic.
It's really quite interesting to be nuts.
Any thoughts or comments? How does that catch your interest compared to like or the upstanders?
Just a comment. That just one just really made me sad. Like just feeling sad for all those people. So
Yeah, if we showed that film, I think the emphasis would be on, again, connecting folks who are in the auditorium with the resources that we have to offer, really not just kids, but the whole community now that we have Carosalis. So it would definitely be a strong mental health focused evening.
I think
Which, yes.
with a lot of self-diagnosing going on now, it could be a good opportunity just to educate on bipolar disorder and some of the experiences that people are feeling, and also create empathy in the community, which could then breed belonging and connection. So
yeah,
just a thought on that piece. I don't think it's as applicable to a wider audience, but I do think that it can help break some mental health stigmas around that specific disorder.
I think that a lot of kids could identify with that movie and how they're feeling potentially, and it might open some things up, for kids to share. So
definitely a worthy subject, but I think our broader audience probably be the upstanders.
Okay.
That's just my feeling.
Of the previews we've seen so far, how many agree with Kathy? Upstanders is probably the top of the list. Yeah, oh, okay, great. Let me show you a couple more. Thanks for doing this. I mean, the movie we end up showing in the community is your choice, not mine. So I feel very relieved that we're doing this right now. Okay. This is the third film that's part of the package we could buy with or not buy, but access with the Upstanders. It's the same company that made Angst, which we showed in 2016 after the year we showed Paper Tiger. So speaking of the quality of and relationship with this, we had a flawless experience with Impact Films, I guess now 8 years ago, but okay, so this is Race to Be Human.
I never grew up talking about racism, but we all knew that it existed. I mean, the first instance that I had with racism was at 6 years old.
When I realized I was black and really realized what black really meant, I want to say I was 9. I was 6.
I think 5.
First time understanding I was black, I don't even know if that's the right way to put it.
The kindergarten, I just realized that everyone was a lot lighter than me.
It's so traumatizing. The first experience that I had, I was little.
It wasn't like I ever thought I was white, but I never noticed that me being different was something that people would notice enough to say something about it.
Yeah, that's when I first realized that I wasn't white.
I think the first time I realized I was Korean, not white, it's funny because you would expect from birth, but I think it was when in elementary school people would make those remarks and microaggressions. I'm like, oh, that's what sets me apart. Not my strength, not my intelligence, not my input, but it's my race.
So, any thoughts? Okay, so oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I mean, especially if they come in a triple package, it seems like this is something that is needed. Not only it seems like a lot of the bullying is surrounding race, but that there are probably people in our community who would really resonate. And so I don't know. I think if we can have access to all three and maybe be able to use them in other places, that there's just a lot of applicable content for our community.
I think that's completely possible. And when I see this trailer, I'm like, All right, I'm the HIP compliance officer for the district, so I see all HIP. Robin's talking about the new game, Garlic, phone game that's going around, and she talked about all the racist images. I have them all on my desktop, right? Like there's crossover here. But sorry, so it makes me wonder, you know, if we partnered with Sharon and Tammy and Robin, our principals, could this be part of re-education if we had access to this bill when those types of violations are happening? I mean, I don't know the answer, but certainly sky's the limit. Robin, I saw you turn on your camera. Do you have a thought?
No, I was just saying I agree.
Oh, wonderful.
Could you make it a requirement for those that have offended?
I mean, we couldn't right away, but it would definitely spur some conversation because I think it's probably higher right now than I've seen it before. And I'm just putting some data out there to principals. We haven't had access to data around this before. And so I think definitely re-education has to be a part of our response, not just punishment. You know, how do we build empathy? Sharon, I see you.
I almost think it's more than re-education. I had an interesting experience yesterday that left me with a lot of kind of feelings. We were in science classrooms doing the signs of suicide lessons, and we were in sixth grade. And I had multiple sixth graders come up to me because one of the questions on the questionnaire is your race and it's optional. They did not know what to put. They didn't understand the question. And so I was going through trying to explain the traits of the different races. And I was just like, we have gone so far away from to try to block that piece out of our district that our students don't even understand what it means anymore. And so the words that they're using and the things that they're saying are things that they're repeating, things that they've heard and I'm not sure they even understand in all cases. Some of them definitely do. I'm not sure they all even understand how that applies to race or what that does to someone who hears those things on a daily basis, you know?
You're blowing my mind.
Pardon?
You're blowing my mind.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just like, okay, I got to think about this.
Yeah, I think so. When I saw it, I was like, this is something that our kids need to see, but for a different reason than what you were thinking.
Yeah. Well, that's why we have many voices. So Sharon, I take it you would be in favor if we are able to secure the package and maybe see what we can do with it within the time allotted.
Oh yeah, I would love that. I think one of our things that shows up on our panorama survey over and over is that, with the questions around, do you have an opportunity to have deep conversations around race and racist issues and things like that? And our students are always like, no, we don't. It's never a conversation. It's completely just pushed down. Like we stop it when we see it, but there's no education. So I don't know that re-education is the problem. I think education in general is the problem.
Primary education.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You know, we're starting to run out of time, but you should look up Facing History, Facing Ourselves. It's an evidence-based SEL curriculum that focuses on issues of race and others, but really teaching through historical events. It's a history or social studies SEL curriculum.
It's amazing. They do a lot of, I've gone to a lot of their trainings that they do just that are open to the public that aren't curriculum necessarily. There's a really good one that's coming up with the gentleman that played, he was in Star Trek. I can't think of his name right now. But he wrote a book called They Called Us Enemy. And there's a book talk that he's giving through that platform that's going to be pretty good. So.
Is that George Takei, maybe?
Yes, thank you. That's
awesome. It. Awesome. Okay, so I'll stop this tangent in just 1 second, but I have been promoting Facing History, Facing Ourselves for 6 years now. I could use more voices. Just saying, could use more voices. The last trailer I wanted to show you I think might fall under the other one. It's gonna feel a little heavy, but let me play this for you anyway. Oops, let me share my screen. And I'll play this last trailer for you before we make a decision together, although I think we've already made it. I didn't enable sound. Let me do that one more time. Oh, yes, I did. Okay, perfect.
Sometimes most people think post-traumatic stress disorder is directly involved with being in the military, but things that take place in our lives can cause PTSD.
Everyone knows someone who's affected by PTSD, whether you know it or not.
It occurs every day, and it happens to so many people in so many different ways, and you just don't label it post-traumatic because you don't think about it as that, not knowing that it's going to cause ripples down your life.
Trauma affects us all in different ways.
It's kind of hard to describe. Why do I have this feeling of fear, but yet I'm not in danger?
For years, I had terrible anxiety attacks.
It just didn't stop. I'd be in business meetings and it'd be playing before my eyes like a movie screen.
I've had dreams where I thought I was back there. I remember swerving across the highway when I saw a box because I thought it was an IED.
You can't see it, and that's the hardest thing is you don't see post-traumatic stress.
When the brain experiences either an emotional trauma or a physical trauma, it tries to protect itself.
It is a reordering of the neural networks in the brain.
Your body does not know the difference between a real bear or a traumatic experience that you keep reliving in your brain.
We are experiencing incoherent rhythms in our heart as we're experiencing those emotions.
Trauma changes the brain, and so we need to engage those parts of the brain that are in charge of that.
There's many people who need to recovery. There are paths to recovery.
People sometimes are looking for a quick fix, or they're looking for a solution that fits every situation, and it's not as simple as that.
Whatever has happened to you is not you.
Don't be ashamed to ask for help.
You can get better.
So those are the ones that I could find that were licensable and might be available in DCP format for the theater. Of course, we don't have to do the Galaxy Theater. We have to be fair. We're talking about this because we've always had that partnership, but this could be at MHS if we thought that would bring more people, right, in their amphitheater. This could be three showings, you know, at each of our secondary schools. I mean, the coalition can decide the format. We've just always done movie night. And so I'm wondering, does the upstanders still rise to the top after seeing everything? Do you give me an indication, a thumbs up, nod, the sideways, down? Okay. So it looks unanimous. And then also just for direction, do you want me to look into the complete set, which come with all the school-based activities as well? Knowing that right now there's no plan and we're the only ones who have talked about this. So I see nods all the way around. Okay. All right. I'm really excited. I'm gonna cut off that last agenda item. We're right up against time. I'd love to let you go on time. Any closing thoughts for the good of the order? All right.
Just thank you. I'm gonna
to say for like.
I just want to say thank you, and then I'm going to use some of these, and we'll talk about them tomorrow when we check in.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, Katie. Aubrey, I didn't hear if you.
And I just think for everybody's own education. Can you hear me? I think
You're
my.
Now we
yeah,
can.
yeah,
Can you hear me?
sure.
Yeah. Netflix has social dilemma on it. It's good for
No.
everybody who wants to how. Can you guys hear me? Anyway.
No. You want to turn off your
Maybe I'll
camera?
put it in the chat.
That helps.
Very good.
That'll help.
That's
I'll put it
better.
in the chat if you guys, but The Social Dilemma is just such a good watch on Netflix for our own. Yeah. So The Social Dilemma on Netflix just kind of it talks about how social media and that algorithm affects all these things, racism, bullying, depression, anxiety, kind of all those things. So it's just a good watch in general.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, you guys, I really appreciate you. I'll circle back as soon as I learn more information. I'll try to schedule time with Impact Films so I can hear their sales pitch and what we might get. And when I schedule that, I'll let you guys know in case you want to join me and just see. Otherwise, what I'll be reaching out for probably beginning next month is who wants to help. I'm still diminished in the evening, but again, Kathy took on so much, and it's a community coalition event. So, okay. Well, thank you guys. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you next month. Bye, Dennis. Bye, Dennis. Bye, Stephanie.
Good to see you, Stephanie.